What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Wrestling Inc. podcast. It is the first episode of Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. This show brought to you by TrendyButler.com and DDPYoga.com/Wrestling Inc. I am joined here by Vince Russo and Raj Giri. Raj, you just got back from Dallas. How was your trip?
I got back. It was amazing, but the getting into the arena was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. You know, for a large stadium, especially a new one, and for how much of a cluster it was at the beginning. It was, I mean, you had people that looked like they were about to pass out from dehydration, standing up for hours.
People actually did pass out there. We got several reports.
Oh yeah, it looked like it, and there were guys you just saw, from when they started to the end, just completely sunburned, and man, it was just a mess. But once we got in, I got in basically for the main card, so I was a lot more positive on the show than you guys last night. But I think a lot of it, I didn't see the pre-show, so I basically just saw the main card, and it didn't seem too long from where I was at. But yeah, the negative response I've seen online has been pretty negative.
Like Vince, I thought it was an entertaining show, but 7 hours is a lot to ask of anybody to sit through and watch. Vince, you said that a lot of your outlook on last night's WrestleMania would be dependent on how they did things tonight. Did anything that was done tonight, did it reaffirm that optimism?
Well, it kept the stories alive. Yeah, I'll say that much. It definitely kept the stories alive, which I think was a good thing. Listen, man, bro, listen, I get it. Everybody's going to be ecstatic. This is going to be the greatest Raw in history because Cesaro showed up and AJ's getting a world title shot. We'll look at the ratings tomorrow and see if it's the greatest Raw in history, even though I know the basketball game's on tonight, so that's not fair. So listen, regardless of what I say, it's going to be the greatest Raw in history because AJ's the #1 contender and Cesaro's back. But the fact of the matter is, they did not deliver a Raw after WrestleMania. This is probably the worst follow-up to any WrestleMania I've ever seen. The only bright spot is, as I said, they kept the Shane story alive poorly, very, very poorly, and they've kept the Roman Reigns story alive. Which and obviously they're going to keep that going if he's going to face, probably one of the biggest fan favorites right now in AJ Styles. So they kept the stories alive, and keeping the stories alive, they kept hope alive.
Well, from what I saw, the show got a lot of negative reaction up until the last hour. I mean, there was a lot of the consensus was pretty much that it was a paint-by-numbers show, except with you had a couple people coming back and a couple people debuting. We'll get to that, but I wasn't getting that type of reception. I didn't get that reception afterwards either. The overwhelmingly positive reception. There were some good things that happened in the last hour, but I don't know if it was enough to make up for the lackluster first couple of hours. Raj, what did you think?
I thought I actually liked the first hour or so. I thought it started off good, and then I just thought it just quickly turned into just the same stuff they've been doing every week. And I thought you had to get, when you're having Shane control the show, that's been your big storyline that you've been promoting for months. You got to, go farther out there rather than just having NXT guys come in. I felt like you needed to do more. And AJ Styles winning, I mean, that's great and all, but then why did he lose yesterday? That makes no sense if he's going into a world title match. I mean, that's just makes no sense to me. But,
well, Roger, if you back that up one step further, there were originally 4 guys in the match to determine the #1 contender for the heavyweight championship. 3 out of the 4 lost their matches yesterday.
Right.
So, if you want,
and this is for the world title.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, Raj, I'm so beat up by this product that stuff like that to me, it doesn't even matter anymore. But 3 out of the 4 guys lost their matches yesterday, and they come back tonight and they get a shot at the WWE title. And I mean, that's at this point, that's just the way the show is written every single week.
Yeah, they definitely needed more, and they definitely needed to do some stuff that thinking out of the box, and I didn't see any of that. The crowd was great, but
Well, sometimes they were great. We'll get to that. We'll talk about that as we go along. We'll start the show from the top. Guys, if you haven't already, if you're watching the YouTube feed, go give us a thumbs up on the page. It helps. Also, subscribe to our YouTube. We have things like this. We have exclusive interviews, all kinds of stuff up there. Also, if you haven't already, check out my feature. It's called Brawl for Naught. It's about the Brawl for All tournament that WWE held in the late 90s and all the backstage stories in relation to that. Actually talked to Vince at length about it. We even talked about it a little bit as we went off the air last night. So very excited for you all to see the first part of that. The next part will go up next week. So we started off the show. Vince McMahon came out. The crowd started off really good. They sang Vince McMahon's theme to him, which I thought was kind of fun. Shane McMahon came out, had a bruise on his left cheek, wanted to thank the fans and say goodbye to them, and Vince McMahon saw this as him being upstage and said, all right, if you think you can run Monday Night Raw, I will let you tonight. Vince, I thought this was a real chance for them to do something special and have Shane, back up those words. What did you think of this stipulation after his loss last night? Were you in favor of that or against it?
Well, listen, it made good. Well, it should have made good TV. Let's say it that way. So the concept, should have opened up a creative envelope, Sean. But bro, listen. We're never gonna see logic in this show again. He wanted his son killed. His son gets killed. And Vince goes out there and says, there's no more, lockbox. There's nothing hanging over my head. It's over. It's done with, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So then, after wanting his son killed, he lets him run the company for the night, which just makes zero sense on paper. Then, on top of that, he leaves the building. So, basically, he's not even going to watch what he does and make sure he doesn't do anything ridiculous. I don't know what Vince leaving the building added to anything.
If he leaves the building every time it's going to be a terrible show, he must never stick around.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was one time during the Attitude Era where we let Shawn Michaels run the show. One night Shawn got to book whatever he wanted. And I got to tell you guys something, that was one of the highest rated Raws of all time. In other words, what I'm saying is they had the opportunity to do that tonight. They had the same opportunity. But them trying to make sense out of, are we seeing all these NXT guys because of Shane? How does that freaking make any sense?
He only interacted with one of them on screen, which was weird.
And not only that, Shane would have had to know beforehand that he was going to be in charge of the show tonight to make sure all those guys were at the arena. The logic is, we can't even talk about the logic anymore. Logic is just out the window. They missed a great opportunity, in my opinion.
And I know why they debuted the NXT guys here as opposed to next week, as opposed to saying, well, Shane, you can do it next week, and him having that time. It's because tonight people knew who they were, and next week they probably, some of them might get a reaction. I think Enzo and Cass would have anywhere, but Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin, Baron Corbin is going to be on the main roster anyway, but Apollo Crews, I don't know that he gets the same reaction next week wherever they are. And also, I want to know from both Raj and Vince. We'll start with Raj. Raj, what do you think was in the lockbox?
I almost guarantee you that's never going to come out. That's going to be one of the the 1,000 drop storylines that they had.
I can't wait to interview a writer in 5 years and ask them.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
He probably got a DUI or something like that. I don't know, but he I guarantee that's dead in the water. But
Vince, your thoughts on the lockbox? What would you put in the lockbox?
I would probably put proof in the lockbox that Stephanie McMahon is not Vince's daughter.
Man, that's a good one.
Ooh. Well, they've went there with the son storyline before, not with the lockbox, but you know, when they revealed that Hornswoggle, yada yada, and so I wouldn't doubt that they would do that at all. Next up, we had. Also, I want to throw in this. Vince, so often you say that they should weave things in and out of this show. This was a real opportunity.
Yep.
Like you could have had Shane McMahon standing there talking to an Enzo and Cass, but not show Enzo and Cass.
Yep.
But just have him say, "I'm giving you all an opportunity. You happen to be here tonight. I'm giving you this chance." Explain something.
I can. I'll explain it to you real simply, Sean. And Sean, I know you talk to people on the inside. I have a couple of people creatively on the inside that I love talking to. This is being booked on the last minute. And if you're booking a show the last minute, Sean, you're going to lose detail. It's going to be broad strokes. That's what it's going to be. And you're going to eliminate all the detail. That's what happens when a show gets booked at the last minute. I guarantee you, they knew what the matches were going to be tonight. That's why they had all the NXT guys there. But I guarantee you, this show was booked today. And in one day, they don't have the intelligence to write a compelling show in one day. All they have the ability to do is put together wrestling matches, and that's what you got.
I thought they had the infrastructure to make a really awesome show. I thought they had a pretty. Compared to other Raws, I thought it was pretty good. But for after WrestleMania, Raj, what were your thoughts?
I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was trying to cater too much. I thought to like the NXT crowd, as opposed to putting in a strong storyline in place to get people hooked and you know, because it is going to be the highest rated Raw of the year. But you know, it's a number that keeps dropping from year to year. It's going to be the highest rated Raw, and this would have been the time to come up with some hot storyline that you can continue through the summer, and kick it off. And they didn't do that, and instead, you get the guys that lost last night in a match to get a shot for the world title. So.
Our next segment featured Lillian Garcia twerking with the New Day. Vince, is this the sex appeal you've been looking for on the show?
Listen, pass me on the New Day and the League of Nations segment, please. Just go straight to Raw. There's nothing else I could say about this. Please go straight to it.
I thought they did a pretty good job of at least brushing off what happened last night. I thought that was good. The tag match was nothing special. Raj, what did you think?
I thought the match was nothing special, but I don't know. I thought it was confusing with the Wyatts coming out. So if the Wyatts are baby faces now, that's kind of what it seemed like they were doing. Then you have no real heels anymore. I mean, all the top heels are, now you've got Kevin Owens would probably be your top heel.
And he's getting cheered by everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you guys know this? I think this is absolutely hysterical. I don't even know why I'm looking at the small stuff anymore, because the big stuff doesn't matter. So the small stuff certainly doesn't matter. Do you know that last night's match on WrestleMania was not for the tag team titles?
Yes.
The League of Nations go over. So tonight it's for the tag team titles, and New Day goes over. Like that blows my mind. That just blows my mind.
It's that 50-50 booking.
Well, they couldn't figure out a way to get to do the whole thing with Austin HBK and Mick Foley without League of Nations not winning. And there's a bunch of ways you could have done it, but they felt like they needed to do that, which I thought, yeah, exactly. It was weak.
Yeah. They could have done it exactly how the Dudley Boys did it to debut Enzo and Cass. You just keep them out there through a video segment or something like that, and say we're not leaving. Yep. But that's neither here nor there. The match was nothing to write home about. New Day retained. The Wyatt family turned babyface, and it's going to be hard on them as And if this would have happened a month ago, I would have been like, yeah, that could work. Without Luke Harper there, without their workhorse there, Vince, I think it's going to be a little hard for them.
Well, it's so unfortunate, Sean, because the booking has failed the Wyatts and the League of Nations. Here's the problem: neither team is over. So if neither team is over, you don't care, and it's impossible to have somebody come out of this and get them over. And that's so unfortunate because when you look at all those guys, you got a lot of really talented guys. But the fact that they've failed to get anybody over, this just doesn't mean anything. Bro, if the League of Nations were over as heels, it would have meant something when the Wyatts came out to both teams. But the fact that League of Nations are not over, the Wyatts aren't over the way they've been booked. Nobody's going to be elevated in this program because nobody's over going into it.
Yeah, I think people, they really want to like the Wyatt family, but they've not been given a reason to for a very long time, and I hope this changes something.
And everyone involved in this segment was humiliated last night. Like the New Day, they took the stunner. The League of Nations, were buried. All the guys. So,
like I said, I think New Day did a pretty decent job of at least brushing that off. They said, they talked about it. They said it didn't go their way, but they didn't completely ridicule the situation, which is okay to me. And like me and Vince said last night, if you're going to have that happen, you might as well have it happen from Shawn Michaels, Mick Foley, and Steve Austin. By the way, Raj, were you surprised at what kind of shape Shawn Michaels was in last night?
Yeah, he was ripped. He looked bigger than he ever did when he was wrestling.
It's at ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc, my friend. But yeah, it looks like the Wyatt family are getting somewhat of a makeover. And my friends, you know what? You can get a makeover too. Let's be real. Wrestling fans, not always the most stylish in the world. I'm guilty of that as well. I said last week on the show I hated to shop. And our friends at trendybutler.com came to my rescue. They said, Sean, what would you do if we told you that you could get $150 of designer clothes for just $65? And I said, wow. That's what I said. I said, wow. And they said, you know what? We're going to do something else for you. I said, well, what's that, trendybutler.com? They said, if you use the code WRESTLING10, all caps, we'll give you $10 more off. All you have to do is create a style profile on their website, trendybutler.com, and a custom-made box arrives for you, picked out, hand-picked by a stylist. Over $150 worth of designer clothes for $65 arriving at your door. trendybutler.com, coupon code WRESTLING10, all caps. Fantastic service, really excited. I get my first box next week, I think. You can go there and see other example boxes. So check that out. Support the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Yeah, do you think we're going to see the Wyatt family in some Trendy Butler gear, Vince?
I think that'd be a hell of an angle.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. Maybe the Miz can make them over. Yeah. Anyway, we came back to Summer Rae on the microphone, and she said that, she lost last night, but at least she didn't end up face down like Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks came out, huge pop, crowd loved her. I love Sasha Banks as well. She's going to need some more promo material besides I'm Sasha Banks and I'm the boss, because that's all she ever says. Meanwhile, her promos off of like WWE programming are always full of passion, and you see how much she cares about things. But on the main roster, it's kind of the same thing. Or not the main roster, on Raw. Sasha squashed Summer Rae. A showcase win for Sasha. I thought that was good. I mean, they obviously like Sasha, and some fans wanted her to win last night. The crowd here loved her. Raj, what did you think?
Yeah, it was a good way to get her on TV, I guess, but it was just kind of filler. I will say this with Sasha last night, at least on the main card, no one that the fans wanted to win any of those matches at Mania last night won, like in every match, and Sasha was one of them. But yeah, it looks like they're going to separate Sasha and Charlotte for a little bit, and then probably go back to that down the road.
Vince, your thoughts on this showcase victory for Sasha Banks?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was. Listen, I'm not a fan of matches when what the outcome's going to be before the bell rings. So, and I understand why they did it. I get it. But, you know, it was what it was.
Indeed it was. We also saw the debut of Apollo Cruz. Vince, have you seen anything of Apollo Cruz before?
Yeah, I saw a little. I've watched him a little bit on NXT.
And this is where, and boy, I'll go ahead and get to this other thing. So you preached for a while about them not using vignettes on these new guys, but like I've said before, they did 15 for Golden Truth, and they did one for Primo and Epico, who have been on the roster in different gimmicks for, what, the last 7-8 years? Raj, is there any sense to this? I mean, this crowd knew who Apollo Cruz was.
Yeah, but we've seen the lasting effects of, yeah, exactly. You don't have the lasting effects of playing to an NXT crowd over, you know, it's a one-night thing. And so, I mean, you kind of saw it with Zayn, how quickly he cooled off. I mean, it's what Vince said months ago, that if you would have, you know, introduced him right with video packages and everything. The Vaudevillians got a little tiny vignette there, but yeah, I think.
And that's funny, Raj, because they probably need it less than Apollo does. Yeah. Because of their gimmick. You know, I mean, bro, listen, what I've watched of NXT, the Vaudevillians have an unbelievable entrance. The guys stay in character. It's really entertaining to me. Now, something like that, you probably don't need vignettes for. Obviously, Enzo and Kaz, you don't need vignettes for those guys. Right. But, you know, somebody like an Apollo, you know, Cruz, you need vignettes for a guy like that.
Yeah. Speaking of the Vaudevillains, they are debuting on SmackDown. I want to say this: Simon Gotch is an unbelievable mat wrestler. I got to see him and Chad Gable, who was an Olympic wrestler, do mat wrestling for like 5 straight minutes. It was unbelievable. Aiden English, Vince, I don't know if you know this, is technically getting married, or is married, into the Guerrero wrestling family now. He's married to Eddie's daughter. So, I mean, they have that, but how long do you see this gimmick working on the main roster, or do you, before they end up on something like Superstars?
The Vaudevillians?
Yes.
Man, I got to tell you, bro, here's what I like about them. I like the entrance. I like the look. They have characters. And, bro, here's the beautiful thing I love about these guys. When they get in that NXT ring, they're wrestling in character. You don't see that often anymore. Usually the character's the first thing that goes out the window because these guys got to memorize their high spots.
That's how Gotch got his job, actually. He showed up with that gimmick and impressed officials.
So I think it's different enough where they do have an opportunity to get over. You know, bro, compared to who were the Road Warrior Demolition guys?
The Ascension.
Yeah, I mean, they were viewed as a rip-off of the Road Warriors and Demolition. That's why they didn't get over. The Vaudevillians is completely unique. I think they have an opportunity to get over.
I don't see it lasting long. I just think it's way too gimmicky to have legs on it for a while. But I hope I'm wrong. They're really good in the ring, and it is unique, and that's hard to find.
It is different. It is different, but I mean, even the NXT crowd's getting a little tired of it. Which, I mean, they can't do much more in NXT, so I don't see the harm in at least giving it a try on the main roster. Why not? Apollo Cruz, I think Apollo Cruz will be something big on the main roster. I think he'll be a guy you can always put in the upper mid card, especially if he learns how to talk. If a guy like John Cena can take him under his wing, I see a lot of comparisons there.
Plus, he's one of those guys, if you haven't seen him, like that people looking at him would just think he's a power guy, and then he's doing these, amazing moves, and I mean he's really unique, and I think he could be a huge star if they build his character right.
We had. So Vince, I want to talk to you about this crowd because this was a very bipolar crowd. I like that they were making noise, but to be quite honest, this crowd was kind of douchebaggy for quite a bit of the show.
Listen, Sean, I'm going to get a lot of heat, and I don't care. I am so sick of it. These crowds are freaking killing the wrestling business. They're a bunch of freaking a-holes. And bro, here's the argument I'm getting online. Think of the ridiculousness of this. Yeah, Sean, settle in for a minute and listen to this.
I'm ready. I set it up for you.
Raj, are you listening to the ridiculousness of this?
All right.
I put on Twitter, these crowds are becoming more and more the biggest bunch of a-holes I've ever seen, period, and end of story. So here's the comeback that people in that crowd are giving me. Because I know they're from that crowd. That's why they're giving it to me. They're telling me that the crowd is acting the way that they're acting because the WWE is not giving them what they want. Okay, let's look at that for a second. They're not giving you morons what you want, so you're paying money to go to the show. That makes all the sense in the world, bro. You're paying money to go to a show where they're not giving you what you want. To me, that is freaking hysterical. Here's what pisses me off, bro. This is what pisses me off. They're disrespecting the talent. That's what it's coming down to. They're not making a statement that we don't like what we're seeing. We don't like you pushing Roman Reigns. They're disrespecting all the talent in the ring that are busting their backs. Bro, I'm telling you, there was probably 5 instances tonight, including Vince McMahon, where the crowd was so disrespectful, it busted the promo. They lost their train of thought, and they had to acknowledge the crowd. They killed poor freaking Charlotte, absolutely killed her. It's freaking disgraceful, bro. These people are going to the show to get themselves over. Bro, you know what? You want to get yourself over, get in the ring with Brock Lesnar. Let's see you get yourself over, bro. I'm going to tell you something, Sean. I'll be honest with you. This is the reason I don't watch NXT. I started watching NXT for a while, and I wanted to watch it as part of my job. I couldn't take the crowd. They're the most obnoxious bunch of people I've ever seen in my life. I stopped watching the show. I just bro, let me point something out to you too, Sean, since I'm on a freaking roll. These people, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but both of you. These people love Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and AJ Styles, correct?
Yep.
They were disrespecting those guys in the ring. When Roman Reigns went out and then those guys hit the ring, they were disrespecting the same people that they like. It's getting to the bro. It's ridiculous. It's the biggest freaking turnoff to me. And here's the thing: WWE, keep catering. The next thing you know, these people are going to be in the back booking the freaking show.
Now, I don't know if they're necessarily catering. They do have some of those guys on the show, but if they were really catering to those people, would Roman Reigns be the world champion right now?
Sean, tonight was the NXT show, bro. I was watching, I did not see a Brock Lesnar tonight. I did not see a Dean Ambrose tonight. I did not see a Triple H tonight. I didn't even see a Stephanie McMahon tonight. It was the NX freaking T show on WWE TV. And listen, Raj, I'm telling you right now, there's not going to be a high rating tomorrow. The combination of it being an NXT show, which the masses still don't care about, and the final of the basketball game, they ain't going to be no record rating tomorrow night. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I guess the finals of that basketball game were insane. So that's not going to help. But I disagree with you on the ratings, but I see your point about the crowds.
I hated the beach ball chant. That was the dumbest shit. They were chanting for a beach ball. Don't say that was good, Raj. Come on.
No, I was gonna say I like the "We Are Idiots" chant.
Oh yeah, I mean I guess sure.
Funny. But yeah, I know.
See, Raj, you're encouraging them. A man of your stature, the owner and proprietor of Wrestling Inc. You're encouraging them.
But it was funny. I agree. I mean, I could see it, but if it was like this every week, I could see that definitely getting obnoxious. But I think part of that is the night after Mania. That's just part of the show that you kind of part of it's kind of seeing what they come up with. But yes, it does. They do cross the line to where it does get obnoxious. And there are a lot of times when it is disrespectful to the talent. But singing Vince's theme, I thought that was cool.
I did too.
Yeah, that was. I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I agree. They're putting themselves over is one thing, and we'll get to that. Also, Michael Cole throughout the evening and JBL treated us like we were complete morons at home, which made it even worse, Vince, because they're saying, "Oh wow, they boo people they normally cheer when Roman Reigns comes out." I'm like, "What show have you been watching?" And then they were doing a chant for Chad Gable, who is an NXT wrestler, during the Usos and Dudley's match, and Michael Cole goes, "Oh, they want the tables." Oh my God!
I never thought in a million years. Listen, you got to remember, I worked there. I never thought in a million years I would see a crowd rattle the WWE. Bro, that they were rattled. Vince McMahon was rattled when he was trying to talk at the beginning. Charlotte, forget about it. Bro, did you hear at one point when he wasn't on camera, like Flair said to Charlotte, these people like are a bunch of idiots, and like he was shooting. It wasn't on mic, nothing. Bro, they're rattling the talent, bro. I mean, my God, that is so freaking disrespectful to me.
Well, we moved on to the Roman Reigns segment, and quite honestly, I thought the Roman Reigns segment was pretty awesome. We basically had Big Daddy Cool Roman Reigns, and that fits him very well. I thought he was unbelievable. He was very succinct. He said, "I am not a bad guy. I am not a good guy. I am the guy, and I kicked Triple H's ass." I thought this was perfect for Roman Reigns. Raj, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought so too. And he was acting a little heelish. They're putting him up against AJ Styles, who's one of the most popular guys right now. So
perfect.
Yeah, I think this, and Reigns seemed so comfortable in that role. Like he didn't seem like, because up until now he always seemed like uncomfortable in his own skin with his character, and now he seemed a lot more confident. He had that swagger. He looked like he belonged. I think they should have done more. It's his, the big title reign, and he's there to set up a four-way later, that he's not a part of. But I thought he did a great job there.
Vince, your thoughts?
I thought he did a great job. I love the line about good guy, bad guy, the guy. I love that. I thought that was terrific. Obviously, less was more. I would have loved, bro. I mean, listen, if they're going down this heel road, or not heel, the Kevin Nash, the Lone Wolf, whatever it is they're going to do, and obviously they've set that up by putting him in the ring with AJ Styles, bro. I would have loved to, see him on color for the match, control his verbiage, don't say a lot, but man, bro, you want to be off to the races. Let him freaking get heat on AJ Styles after he wins that match. Let's get off to the races. So I would have liked to see them do that, but I was happy with the way they handled it.
And his reaction to AJ Styles and Sami Zayn, like blowing him off like they were nothing, like he wasn't doing that with the heels. He wasn't doing that with Jericho and Owens. I thought that was cool. A lot of people have been asking about Reigns' reaction last night. They're live, and I'll say this: like early on in the show, anytime they would show him a video package or anything where he was, when they would show him, the place was erupting in boos. But by the time the match happened, he was booed, but it wasn't like the craziest heat that like Eva Marie. I mean, he got booed, but it wasn't anything overly loud. And when he won, they got a huge pop when he won, which was strange to see in that arena because they were pretty much booing him the whole match. So I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. I don't know people asking if they muted it, but it just wasn't. They weren't that loud, for that match.
During this segment, we saw Chris Jericho come out, who beat AJ Styles last night. He was followed by AJ Styles, who was followed by Kevin Owens, who was followed by Sami Zayn. All hell broke loose, and Reigns just kind of watched it happen, watched it unfold. Speared Jericho, thought he was outstanding here. Thought it was a good move to associate him with these 4 guys. If you're not going to have Ambrose on this show for whatever reason, these are probably your best bets in this town because they're going to get the reactions. So, good call. Dr. Phil is going to guest host the show. If Reigns spears him, Vince, does he get a babyface reaction?
Yeah, he would. So that's why they would never let that happen. But bro, what is Dr. Phil doing on the show? Like, how does he tie in to any part of their audience whatsoever?
He wants somebody to get excited about their life. Maybe he's on there to counsel us into getting excited about our lives. He's going to be out there to provide us counseling after Stephanie McMahon tells us how much our lives suck. It's a point-counterpoint thing.
Yeah, well, he should be counseling the wrestling fans, not the wrestlers.
Oh, there you go. I thought one of the things was that really picked up in the last hour that didn't the first couple. They needed to portray that this show was better than a normal Raw at all times because Shane McMahon is supposed to be running it, right? I mean, this is supposed to be him.
He only announced the one match too, right? The Fatal 4-Way. I don't think he really announced anything else. He's just oh, you're up next, or that kind of thing. It was very uneventful.
And he was backstage with Apollo Cruz, so I mean, I guess there was that. And yeah, he did that with Roman Reigns.
He should have announced the Fatal 4-Way in the ring and at least make it seem like a big deal as opposed to just kind of a blowaway spot in the back.
Why not have him there with Miz and say, make that rematch that they're going to have on SmackDown? Just a couple more little segments of him flexing his power. Speaking of that, you had Zack Ryder come out. Crowd loved him. Cut a promo saying that he had his WrestleMania moment. His dad was in the audience looking like he was about to fail a wellness test. His dad is jacked.
Yeah, I know, man.
Lord. His dad is yoked.
He's been eating his Wheaties.
Yeah, for sure. For sure doing his DDP yoga. DDPyoga.com/Wrestling Inc. that is. Anyway, so The Miz comes out, goads Zack Ryder into a match. We get Maryse, his wife, returning and costing Zack Ryder the match and the title. Now, Vince, we talked about the sex appeal on the show. I don't know if you can get much better than Maryse, my friend.
Yeah, I never saw her before. Very, 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 very attractive girl. We talked about last night, though. I mean, if they were going to put the title on Zack Ryder and then take it off him the next night, what was it going to accomplish? But it looks like it got him into a program. So I'm happy about that. I mean, if they give him
got him his WrestleMania moment too.
Got him his moment. Let him get in a program with Miz. So at least the guy will get a little something. So I'm happy about that.
They've already announced the rematch for SmackDown, though. I'd like to see more of a build before you already do the rematch. But
yeah, I like this. Glad that Maryse is back. I always thought she was underrated, honestly.
Miz, his new gear, he looks like the modern day Max Moon. It's just.
You ever seen Better Call Saul, Raj?
Yeah.
He looks like the guy's brother who's afraid of the electronic waves and wears the foil around him all the time.
Right, yeah, pretty much.
We had Baron Corbin out there, and they had him cutting basically an Ascension promo. It was miserable. Then he had a match with Dolph Ziggler. It went to a double count out, and he hit the End of Days on the floor. End of Days is a fantastic move. I think it's the best finish in wrestling. Also, he has that awesome Deep Six move. Vince, what did you think of Baron Corbin? This was his first Raw appearance. No vignettes.
Yeah.
And let me be the first to say, after watching his vignettes on NXT, they do him a world of good. He is unbelievable in vignettes. Raj, did you see his vignette from last week's NXT?
No, I haven't.
Oh, God, it was great. So he told Austin Aries that he was going to send him back to whatever high school gym he came from so he can sign autographs next to Virgil.
Yeah, I heard you saying that. That was a pretty good one.
It was excellent. But Vince, your thoughts on Baron Corbin's Raw debut?
I got to tell you, I never take anybody's credit, so I want to point this out because I thought it was a really good idea. I had Disco on my show today, Glenn Gilberti, and Glenn I thought had a really good idea for Corbin tonight that I thought would have gotten him over probably more than the heat he got on Dolph, and that was to have desecrated that statue, to have desecrated the name of Andre the Giant, to have destroyed that. I mean, Andre's like a biblical figure in the WWE. Nobody would ever, disrespect Andre the Giant. Man, rather than him put the trophy over, I would have loved, Andre the Giant was half the giant I am, half the man that I am. This is an insult to me. I thought that would have been a great angle. As a matter of fact, I was reading just last week on Twitter, I guess Andre's daughter did an interview or something. What if you would have brought Andre's daughter in to present the trophy to him and let him just tear down her father to the girl? I mean, something like that would have been more memorable than just, giving Dolph Ziggler, the 50th beating in the last 52 weeks.
Yeah, and kind of what you said last night too. I thought this as well. It made no sense to me to have Baron Corbin crying, after he won. He should have acted like he doesn't care if that's his gimmick. I mean, that's what he's telling people, and then he's crying. So I thought that kind of hurt him on arrival. Hey, Sean.
I think he'll be a good hand on the main roster, but again, vignettes for him are crucial because he's not that great on a live mic, but he is outstanding in vignettes. Also, we had, as you mentioned, Vince, Charlotte got shook during this women's title coronation type of deal. She had all these women in the ring. It seemed like she never really got to the point that she was supposed to get to, and the crowd really shook her. And then finally, they showed her some respect towards the end of it. But, yeah, the crowd kind of hijacked this segment, Vince.
You know what's going to start happening, Sean? Mark my words. You write this down on your calendar. They're going to be forced to do more and more of this in the back. Because, bro...
Why aren't they already?
I don't know, but, bro, she was shook. Bro, she lost her train of thought during that promo at least 3 times that I counted. This is when I really started to get pissed off. Because, I mean, my God, it was so disrespectful. I felt so freaking bad for her. But, I mean, she got through it. She's a trooper. She got through it, but they definitely rattled her cage.
Raj, were you surprised this segment went this way?
Yeah, I mean, I like that they're building Natty and Charlotte because they always have good matches, and it's good to see Natty in the mix. I agree about the crowd and Charlotte not really knowing how to respond. She was definitely rattled out there, and I felt bad for her because they're trying to do a big thing. At least they're trying to do something with the women's title. So the crowd kind of ruined that a bit, but. But at least I'm glad that they're rebranding the Divas Championship and they made it a focal point, so that was cool.
Beautiful championship, I thought. Becky Lynch was there looking like she's been hanging out with Greg Hardy all week. She got busted up at WrestleMania.
Yeah, she had a nasty diner.
Indeed. Natty and Charlotte kind of squared off. Natty applied the sharpshooter before Rick pulled her out. I think Rick is such an awesome, disgusting heel manager. So natural. Raj, I understand that you were hanging out with a WrestleMania performer yesterday morning.
Oh, yeah. Hanging out with DDP. Didn't tip me off that he was going to be there like in the Battle Royal, so props to him. But
how was the workshop?
It was cool. It was I couldn't stay for all of it, but yeah, it was packed, and people, DDP is just great at the inspirational speaking and getting people motivated. So it was it was definitely something.
I think that man belongs in the Hall of Fame just based on his outside of the ring contributions alone.
Absolutely.
He did what several rehab facilities couldn't have dreamed of in getting Jake the Snake Roberts and Scott Hall back on their feet. Of course, we encourage you to check out The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, available on Vudu, Amazon, PlayStation Network, Google Play, Vudu, every streaming service on demand that you can think of. All those places have The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. Great documentary. Also, go to ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc and you get a great deal on the Max Pack, used by your new #1 contender to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, AJ Styles. And also, you saw the benefits that it gives DDP. Boy, he gave me so much ammunition for the plugs, Raj.
Yeah.
He is in WrestleMania in the co-main event at 60.
Yeah, he looked great. He's in great shape, and yeah, it was quite the contrast with him and Tatanka. You know, to be fair, Tatanka looked fine too, just a little out of shape. But
to be fair, he could have used some ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc.
Yeah, exactly.
He could have. And he could have outfitted himself with Trendy Butler at trendybutler.com if he used the code Wrestling Inc. 10 or Wrestling 10 rather. But yeah, that was cool to see DDP. Glad that you got to go to the workshop. You said it was packed.
Yeah, it was like 125 people is what it looked like.
Hoping that he cracked his all-time record for that workshop. Up next, we had the Usos versus the Dudleys in a tables match. Vince, why did this tables match not happen last night at WrestleMania?
Well, it was on the wasn't it on the pre-show?
But it wasn't a tables match. It was a singles match, and they did a tables spot after the match.
Bro, I can't comment on these things because there's nothing I could say. I mean, there's just nothing I could say. The angle has been going on for so long, and it didn't mean anything out of the gate. And, it was just part of filling the 3 hours, man. That's all it really was, in my opinion.
I agree. But the big story of this, and I teased you about it a little bit last night, Vince, and you got really excited about it.
Yeah.
And now they're working with ya boy, Bubba Ray. We had the debut of Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. I, for one, thought this was a perfect opening feud for the two. And, man, how insane, in a good way, was Enzo Amore on that mic.
Bro, I love these guys. The first time I ever saw them on NXT, and listen, bro, I'll be honest with you. I have a pretty good relationship with one of the trainers at NXT, and bro, I swear to you, Sean, it had to be almost a year ago. A year ago, I was like, bro, I'm watching your NXT product. This Enzo kid is the best guy you have on the freaking show. How is this guy not at the WWE? And basically, bro, the train is there. Everybody had not heat with Enzo, but they weren't going to, put him at the head of the class because they didn't feel, he didn't work indie matches, bro. This guy was like a gym rat that kind of showed up and wanted to learn how to wrestle, but he didn't go through the indie system. He didn't pay his dues. And I remember telling this guy a year ago, you guys are out of your freaking mind. This is the most talented, charismatic performer on the whole entire show. You put him on Raw now, and he will instantly be over. And, here he is a year later. But my God, do they need this breath of fresh air. Bro, let me tell you something. If they can't get Enzo and Big Kaz over, they can't get anybody over. Because it would almost be like they'd have to try not to get them over. Because this is one of the most talented guys I've seen in a very, very long time, in my opinion.
Raj, what did you think?
Yeah, I was curious how the act would translate over to the main roster. And Enzo was, he looked like he belonged. He just did fantastic. That promo was... he just seemed like he had no butterflies or anything when he was out there. He knocked it out of the park.
He had been waiting for it for years.
Exactly. I was almost worried that he was going to run out of material.
That's what I said too.
He was just going and going. But I thought that was one of the highlights of the show. I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that kicked off the last part and which really saved the show. If you didn't have this and maybe that main event, then you're looking at a real lackluster Raw, in my opinion. The only negative I have about this, I was a little bummed that Carmella didn't come along for the ride because initially she felt like a forced part of that act, and over the past year, she has really become a part of that act. She has gotten really good. She's basically turned into the female Enzo Amore, and it's really worked out. Also, Big Cass can hold his own on the mic, too, so I'm very, very excited for this. And Vince, you talk about how Enzo doesn't work those indie matches. That man doesn't have to work a match.
Exactly. Yeah,
He
bingo.
doesn't
Exactly.
Never
Yes.
have to work a match.
He doesn't. Exactly. Yep.
He's gold. He is gold.
Yep.
Right before this, we saw backstage. Now, we had been getting reports that Sami Zayn was holding his arm going to the back after that segment. This was planned. This wasn't like a spur-of-the-moment type of thing. This was always in the plans, but they wrote Sami Zayn off. They wrote him out of the match. He got powerbombed backstage by Kevin Owens, and he was just essentially written out of the match. So our main event, number one contender four-way match, was Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, and Chris Jericho, and a mystery man who ended up being Cesaro, who looked like he was going to steal Big Bubba Rogers' gear for a little while. As it turns out, he has a breakaway suit, apparently, and came out, got a huge pop. Great to see Cesaro back. That's definitely, if they're going to run like these, if they're going to run a lot of inconsequential matches, it's good to have a guy like Cesaro in there who's at least going to make the in-ring work good. I thought this match was very fun to watch, and in my opinion, a huge shocker, Raj, when AJ Styles won, and won with the Styles Clash that has been kicked out of every single time so far.
Yeah, I was not expecting that at all. So the thing with Sami Zayn, if his injury, is that confirmed that it wasn't a real injury?
Now, I was told that at least it was planned that Cesaro was going to be in there. Now, like I said in my article today, it's a business full of workers, and you never know who's saying what. But I was told that was set to happen as it was.
Okay, because I just thought if you were going to put Cesaro in, why not have him? If you're putting him in, he should win. Like have him return only to lose right off the bat. Just you could have his surprise return earlier in the show, where in a match that he picks up the win. But yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting Styles. I thought it'd be Jericho or Cesaro.
Vince, what did you think of the match and the decision to go with AJ Styles? I know you've worked with AJ a lot.
Yeah, well, the first thing I got to say is, listen, bro. I don't mean to pick on anybody.
That's always the first thing you have to say is, listen, bro.
But, bro, this great worker that Kevin Steen Owens is, bro, don't drag your leg to the ring all the way down the ramp and then get to the bottom of the stairs and run up the stairs, bro. Like, bro, you drag yourself to the ring, drag yourself up the stairs. Don't sprint up the stairs, because you just killed the whole gimmick for me, that you're faking that you're hurt. That's why Kevin Owens is a great worker. No, bro, that's a rookie mistake. That's why I don't put him in the category of a great worker. A great worker does not make that mistake. Shawn Michaels does not make that mistake. I want to ask you this, Shawn, because this is what bothers me. Bro, listen. Take nothing away from these four guys. Balls to the wall, killing each other, giving 150%. You can't take anything away from them. But, like, Sean, I got a problem with a spot like this, and I want to see what you guys think. They're having this great match, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Bro, my biggest problem, and this is where they lose me, when the three guys are sitting in the corner getting hit with that uppercut after uppercut after uppercut and not moving and just waiting in the corner for Cesaro to come hit another one. Bro, I think that's where they lose you, where they have this back and forth high contact match, and then all of a sudden three guys are just laying in the corner like tackle dummies, waiting for a guy to come throw 3-4 uppercuts apiece at every one of them. What do you think about spots like that in a match like this?
I think you got to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but I mean, the way that his uppercuts have always been portrayed is that they'll knock you loopy. It makes for a few too many cutesy spots, sure, but I mean, I didn't really have a problem with that much. Not nearly as much as a lot of the things I see on a weekly basis on this show, like the Del Rio foot stomp, which they've kind of done away with, and things like that.
That kind of took me out of the match a little, but that's me. As far as AJ winning it, hey, listen, bro, if they're on the road to giving Roman Reigns a new persona, they definitely picked the right guy. I mean, there's no question about that. So if that's the direction they're going to, I think it was a great choice.
Raj, how'd you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends where they're going with Reigns. If they're going to have him more of a tweener or a heel, then I think AJ Styles is is a great opponent. But it makes no sense to me that he lost last night. If you're going to do that, why would that's kind of stuff just drives me nuts when you're getting someone in the title picture and you have them losing. That makes no sense in any sport or anything, which is what wrestling is kind of supposed to be, emulating, like scripted sports. So,
well, because here's their psychology, Raj. This is exactly it in a nutshell. It's okay if we beat AJ at Mania because he's going to win this match the following night, become the #1 contender, and everybody's going to forget that he lost.
I hate that.
That is the psychology.
Yeah, because it makes way more sense to have Jericho, since Jericho is coming off of a big win over AJ, and he's the heel. So other than that, the match itself I thought was fine, and yeah, I mean AJ, headlining a pay-per-view just a few months in, so that's a pretty big deal.
My live correspondent Nick Charles Hester said that AJ stayed after the show about 15 minutes and thanked fans and was almost brought to tears. Obviously a big moment for him. Regarding the Zayn thing, I mean, he might be hurt, but I was told that this was always set to be what was supposed to happen. But nothing about whether the injury was legit, fake, anything like that. Now, AJ Styles is going to face Roman Reigns, which is, pretty crazy. There's no way Roman Reigns gets cheered in this, Vince, so they have to know that. There's no way they can be oblivious to that fact, right?
Right, absolutely, yeah.
And your thoughts on how and when do you think this match is going to happen? Like, you think they're going to book it for a pay-per-view main event? Is it going to be a Raw main event? How do you think they'll go about this?
Well, I'd like to see them book it for a pay-per-view main event and build it up and make it mean something. But, if we're going to see AJ and Roman, mix it up 4 times before they get to the match, it's not going to mean anything. So, I don't have the confidence that they would build it up the right way. So it's tough to say. I'd like to see the right build-up to a big pay-per-view match.
Raj?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm reading the comments here. I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Where and when do you think this match will happen? Like a main event of Raw, pay-per-view? Personally, I would like it to be a pay-per-view main event because it is a big first-time match.
Yeah, I assumed it's a pay-per-view. They usually don't set up matches like that for a top contender for the world title for Raw. So, yeah, I'm assuming it's what's Extreme Rules? Is that what's next, or Payback, right?
I'll look right now.
Yeah. They've renamed all their pay-per-views this year, so I'm kind of forgetting, but I think it's Payback. And
speaking of guys, I'll have live coverage of New Japan Invasion Attack at 4 in the morning on Sunday. Vince, are you going to wake up at 4 in the morning and watch New Japan Invasion Attack?
Bro, not only am I going to wake up at 4 in the morning, I'm going to put my bells on, bro, and watch the show at 4 in the morning with bells on, bro, as they say.
So, Vince, would you say that you are more excited for the Kushida versus Will Ospreay match than the Okada versus Tetsuya Naito
Bro,
match?
I just saw my boy Will on Saturday. Bro, I'm Will's biggest fan, bro. And you can even ask him that. I saw him in the UK a year ago, and
Holy crap, you're serious.
Bro, I saw Will Ospreay in the UK a year ago, and I said, it is ridiculous that this guy is not freaking over in the United States, at least working on TNA. the first time I ever saw the guy. You know why, bro? Because he's a great worker, and he works his character in the ring as well. That's why I fell in love with him immediately. Will Ospreay's my boy, bro.
Talk about a swerve right here on the Wrestling
I wouldn't
Podcast.
expect that.
I love him. I love Will Ospreay.
I'm actually going to say something about Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, well, I know him. I don't know. I mean, I've seen his work, but I mean, I know Will, and I really like Will.
Yeah, and it looks like the next pay-per-view is Payback. Yeah, I think so. And Extreme Rules, I guess, is May 22nd. So there's that. Vince, what would you rate this show out of 5?
I'm giving it a 2 for 2 reasons. Number one, the line, I'm not a good guy, I'm not a bad guy, I'm the guy. That gives it 1 point. The big second point is my boy Enzo showed up on the show. Those were the only 2 things on this show that I really enjoyed. The last match was good, and I know everybody loves it. I'm not the match guy. So for the way that little range transition, the Enzo intro, I'm going to give it a 2 because of those 2 things.
And quickly before we go, do you think Shane's sticking around?
I mean, bro, watching tonight's show, I get the feeling this is going to continue. So my answer would be yes.
And tell them about your deal with Podcast One and the brand.
Bro, I told you I was going to give you big news on this show today. Big news.
Give me this news.
Big news. All right, listen, I'm going to tell you real quick because I know Raj doesn't like when I take the time to plug. But, Raj, I got breaking news for you here.
All right.
Breaking news. First of all, I got to tell you, you got to go to russosbrand.com. You can sign up to our video channel, 75 cents a freaking week, and you can get a Stone Cold Steve Austin video podcast where I get them all hopped up and all upset at Jeff Jarrett, which is great entertainment. My show starts on Podcast One tonight, actually, at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So that's 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock on the East Coast. Podcast One. You can go to podcastone.com and subscribe now. Here's the big news for you, Sean, that I promise you. I do my show, The Swerve, my interview, every week on Thursday, but it's going to air on Podcast One a day later. So that will be on Friday. And today I had a big interview, a good hour and a half, with HBK himself, Shawn Michaels, coming right off of WrestleMania. So we got to talk all about that. Shawn doesn't do many of these things. And he did it on video as well. And, I mean, you know, bro, he gave me about an hour and a half today. It was absolutely phenomenal, fantastic. He's going to be my first guest on Podcast One on The Swerve on Friday, part 1 of that interview.
Nice.
That's a big interview.
I will be checking that out.
Yeah.
Vince, I want to thank you for joining us. It's been awesome having you the last 2 nights. I'm looking forward to talking to you about Invasion Attack next Monday.
Yeah, I can't wait, bro. You just got to pronounce the names for me, or else we'll be here all night.
I got to pronounce most of the American names for you, Vince.
Yeah, I'm there.
Thank you, Vince.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks.
All right, take care.
So, yeah, covering Invasion Attack this Saturday, or Sunday, I think it is. As if WrestleMania week wasn't enough, Raj. We have that coming up.
Yeah.
Let's get to some questions. Do you all think that Shawn Michaels will – well, we should have had Vince answer this one. Do you think Shawn Michaels will work another match with the shape he's in? I said it last night, Raj. Good luck getting somebody to stop asking now.
Right. No. He's done. And you know, just because you're more muscular doesn't mean you're in better ring shape. And so, you know, a lot of times having all that extra muscle when you're older, it hurts you and you're more susceptible to injury. But I don't see Shawn ever coming back.
Somebody says, Shawn, you and Vince were teasing a name that Vince spoke to who was made out of granite at WrestleCon, but you said he couldn't name him because you hadn't revealed your feature yet. That was Bart Gunn. Bart Gunn is about 300 pounds of solid muscle now. He is an absolute freak of nature. Yeah, I have that feature up. It's on the main page. You can find it in the little slidey thing we have where our featured articles are. Check that out. Part 2 dropping next week, I think. But But yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. I talked to X-Pac, Vince Russo, Bruce Pritchard, Jim Ross, Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn, Butterbean, a little bit of everybody. Would you be surprised if Jericho costs AJ his match against Reigns? Oh, Raj, could you imagine them continuing that?
Yeah. I don't know. What was the question again? I was reading this one.
Could you see Jericho costing AJ his match with Reigns?
No. I think that was the blow off, Jericho and AJ. I think it's done. I was wondering if they were going to go farther with it, but I think now it's clear that they're kind of moving on with that.
I am curious what they may do with Bobby Roode. Raj, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm curious myself. I think he'll be in NXT for a while. But I think him and Aries, they have that WWE look, so I think they'll both do fine. And I see them both having good careers. But someone's asking me what my wife thought of Mania. She had a lot of fun. We had our share of wine, and we were drinking with a lot of our Wrestling Inc. fans that were there. And I got to say this: I want to thank all the site fans that came up to me all week, and it was cool seeing it like everywhere we went. And when I had my Wrestling Inc. shirt on, people were coming up and saying hi and hanging out. So that was really cool to see.
I had people screaming bro at me a lot at the Arnold Sports Festival, which I thought was kind of fun. I was very proud of my fiance. Her 3 favorite things of this weekend were Enzo and Cass, the Nakamura Zayn match, and the women's triple threat match. So yeah, I'm kind of impressed by her taste.
My wife's kind of a casual fan. She doesn't really watch that much anymore, but she loves The Rock, so she was really into that. Her favorites have been The Rock and Daniel Bryan, and I think she was a little bummed that Daniel Bryan, wasn't there. But, I told her ahead of time he wasn't going to be. But, yeah.
Some words for Vince about Cesaro's corner elbows, the worm and the people's elbow. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point.
What is your opinion on the direction of the Wyatt family? I think they needed something different. Raj, do you think that this is going to help them at all?
Well, it depends. Are they turning babyface, or are the League of Nations turning babyface?
Oh, there's no way League of Nations are baby faces.
But again, I think if you turn them face, you're really limited because you got no top heels. I mean, who are they going to work with? I mean, the League of Nations, they've been beaten, mercilessly, last month. They've been beaten every match. So I just don't.
I think Reigns is your heel. I mean, even though he's not.
Yeah.
He's facing AJ Styles, so at least for the next month, he's going to be a heel.
If you had Reigns as a heel, it opens it up to so many possibilities. You got Cena, you got Reigns, you got Lesnar, you got Seth Rollins when he comes back, you got Ambrose. So it really opens things up if you had Reigns as a full heel. So, but yeah, I just think they're just treading water with the Wyatts right now, and at least it's something different, but I just don't see who they could work with that'll get them to the next level. And Bray Wyatt, they need him. They're hurting on the top, the top talent right now as far as having top guys. So I'd like to see him rehabbed a bit.
Somebody says, do you think Shaq got a great payday? I don't think it was probably that good. It's something he's always wanted to do.
Yeah. I think he did it more for the fun of it than the payday. And he was supposed to wrestle a Big Show at a WrestleMania in the past. So it's something he definitely, has had interest in, but never worked out.
Where was Carmelo with Enzo and Cass? Raj, what did you think about this? I was a little bummed about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I thought they would have jumped at the opportunity to have Carmelo on TV. So, yeah, I don't know if maybe she'll come in later, but I hope she, she remains part of the act.
Where was the logic in having Shane control Raw for one night if he lost last night? I think it was, and I would love for Shane to come out and say this, that he played his dad like a fiddle by coming out and knowing that showing up his dad would lead him to get something, but I don't think they'll do that.
Yeah. They really could have played up that angle tonight. They could have, with Triple H and Stephanie, they could have done some interesting stuff with that, and that was the best they came up with. And Shane was hardly, he was on for like 30 seconds at a time. So it really seemed like they were building to something big when the show started, and it just kind of fizzled as far as that whole thing went.
Why did they dump so many NXT talent on the main roster? Was NXT overkill? It makes the main roster seem so less important. Well, Barrett's leaving. Cena's still hurt. Triple H is gone for tonight at least. Lesnar's gone for a while. Taker's gone for a little while. Orton is still out for a little bit. Rollins is still out for a little bit. They've got some roster spots to fill.
Yeah, but you could wait a couple weeks and not have everyone on the same show.
Oh yeah, I think 7 new characters tonight between the Matadoras, Vaudevillains, Enzo Cass, Maryse, Apollo Cruz, Baron Corbin. Okay, that's 9.
Yeah. I mean, you could have waited. Again, done vignettes for Apollo Cruz and built him up, and then have him debut in a few weeks. I kind of thought it was NXT overkill too. I think you could have done just Enzo and Cass, and they had the place hot, and hold off Baron Corbin for a couple weeks. Run some vignettes on him, and then wait maybe a month for Apollo Crews until after Payback.
What did you all think of Bad News Barrett getting turned on? Do you think this will lead to anything? It'll lead to him probably leaving the company because he's already given his notice.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably get squashed a little bit by the league and has his farewell.
Why no Balor Club tonight?
Well, Finn Balor's still the NXT champion, so I don't see him moving to the main roster until he loses that belt. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it makes sense to bring Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson without Finn Balor, just as a tag team. So, yeah, it's weird. I don't know why they had Finn Balor beat Samoa Joe. I think you should have had, it should have went the other way around and have Finn Balor, make his debut finally.
I'm with that. And you know what? If this eventually, like I said, it's such a bummer that Luke Harper's hurt. It'd be really hard to do this, but I would love a Balor Club Wyatt family feud, but without Luke Harper, I don't think I'm on board for that. Raj, you have anything else for the people before we go?
I got nothing.
Guys, thank you for sticking around. I know tonight's show went a little longer than usual, but special circumstance, WrestleMania week. We will be back Wednesday at 10 to talk non-Monday Night Raw stuff, myself and Rob McCarran. Be sure to check out trendybutler.com. Use that coupon code Wrestling10, all caps. Also, ddpyoga.com/wrestlinginc. And check out Jake the Snake Roberts, video on demand. Of course, tweet Trendy Butler, DDP Yoga. Let them know that the Wrestling Inc. podcast sent you. Support the show. Of course, follow Raj Giri on Twitter. He doesn't have his little box up there. I put mine up during the end of the show.
Yeah.
But, guys, thank you so much for all the support. We are out.